Let's talk about the phase that causes more confusion than almost anything else online: passive income. Because if you're over 50 and you hear that phrase, it usually triggers one of two reactions. Either, yeah, that sounds like a scam, or, sure, that sounds nice, but that's not for people like me. And I want to say this clearly right up front. That reaction, it does make sense, because most of what people call passive income online is presented in a way that is either misleading, overly simplified, or completely disconnected from reality. And if you've been around long enough, and you have, if you're over 50, you can smell nonsense. So today I'm going to do something a lot of creators won't do. I'm going to explain the truth about passive income in a way that actually respects your intelligence. No hype, no pressure, no quitting your job in 30 days. No, just post 3 reels a day and retire. None of that. Just clarity. Because when you're over 50, you're not looking for a fantasy. You're looking for something that feels stable, predictable, and doable. And here's the truth that no one explains clearly. There's no one income that starts passively. None. There is only income that becomes less active over time after you do the learning and after you build the system. That's the missing piece. That's the part that gets skipped. And when that part gets skipped, people blame themselves. They think they're doing something wrong. They think they're behind. They think they're too old. And they think they're not techie enough. But the truth is, most people were taught the wrong expectation. So today, we're going to fix that. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what passive income actually means in real life, why it feels active at the beginning, and why that's normal. The difference between stable systems and fragile systems. And what I recommend for beginners over 50 who want digital income without chaos. And what your next step is if you want a clear path without getting scammed or overwhelmed. And I'm going to say this now so you know where I'm going with this. If at the end of this you want to see how these pieces all fit together, I have a free resource called the Free Freedom Formula Blueprint. It's listed below in the description. It's not magic, it's not a promise, it's a simple framework that shows you the steps. So you can stop guessing and decide for yourself intelligently. All right, let's get into it. Number 1, why passive income sounds like a scam after 50. If you're over 50, you've lived long enough to know one thing. If something sounds too easy, it usually is. And the internet has turned passive income into this phrase that sounds like doing nothing and getting paid. And that's exactly why smart people roll their eyes like, yeah, right. Because real life doesn't work that way. Even if you think about traditional passive income like real estate, people love to say real estate is passive, but anyone who has owned property knows you find the property, you secure financing, you buy it, you maintain it, you deal with tenants, you deal with repairs, you pay fees and taxes on it, and you manage the risk. Then maybe over time it becomes less active. But it did not start out as passive income. The same with investing. People call dividends passive. But what happens first? You had to earn money, save money, learn basic investing, choose what to buy, take the risk, stay consistent, and then, yes, Over time, that can become less active, but it didn't start passive. So why would digital income be different? It's not. The difference is online marketers often use passive income as a selling phrase to trigger hope. And when someone over 50 hears it, they often feel two things at the same time: a little spark of hope and immediate suspicion. Because you want it to be true, but you don't want to be a fool. That's the tension. And if that's you and you want to know something, you're not cynical, you're experienced. And that experience is the asset because it makes you harder to manipulate. But it also means you need someone to explain this in plain language. So here it is. Passive income is not no working. Passive income is work now that reduces work later. And that's it. Pretty simple. That's the whole truth. And once you understand that, you stop feeling like you're failing and you start feeling like you're building. Number 2, the big misconception. If it's passive, why am I working? Let's name the exact misconception. Most beginners think, if this is passive income, why does it feel like I'm doing so much? And that question is where people quit because no one explained the phases. So they assume I'm doing it wrong, I'm behind, or it's not working, it's a scam, it's too late for me, I'm not caught out for this. But here's what actually happens. They are in the setup phase. That's it. And the setup phase, everything is active because you are building something that didn't exist before. Let me give you a simple example. If you plant a garden, does it start passive? No. You buy the soil, you prepare the bed, you plant the seeds, you water it, you protect the seedlings, you pull weeds, you pay attention, and at some point, the garden begins to produce. Now, you still maintain it, but it's not the same intensity. It becomes less active. That's digital income. Digital income is exactly the same. If you want income that can run while you live your life, you have to build something that can run. And that requires learning, requires systems, and it's going to require consistency. No hustle in the toxic sense, just structure. So here's the truth. If it feels active at the beginning, you're not failing, you're building. And if anyone promised you that it would feel passive in 1 week, that's not a realistic promise. Number 3, what actually makes income passive-ish over time? So let's define something. Passive income is usually a sloppy phrase, quite honestly. A better phrase is leveraging income. And this means you put effort in once and it can pay you more than once. That's the goal. That's the point of systems. So what makes income become less active over time? There's 3 things: skills, system, and traffic. Let me explain those skills. Skills are the ability to create something valuable, communicate it, and guide people to it. If you don't have the skills, your income is fragile because you can't adjust. You can't troubleshoot. You can't respond to change. So skills are the foundation. Systems. Systems are what keeps things running without you constantly pushing. Let me give you some examples. A simple offer, an automated email sequence, a consistent content routine, a clear call to action, a simple way for someone to take the next step. Systems reduce decision fatigue. So systems reduce chaos. Systems create predictability. Predictability is what most over 50 actually want. Not adrenaline, not constant hustle, predictability. So let's talk about traffic. Traffic is simple. People are seeing you. And traffic can be built in two ways. Paid traffic, which is ads, and organic traffic, which is content. A beginner over 50 usually starts with organic because it doesn't cost anything and it's low risk. But the key is here, traffic is not a one-time event. Traffic is a process. And once traffic becomes consistent, systems can compound. That's when income becomes less active. So again, you learn the skills, you build the systems, you drive the traffic, your effort reduces over time. And that's the pathway. It's not magic. It's not post this one thing. It's a sequence. Number 4, the 2 types of passive income that people build online. Now, I want to break this into 2 categories because this is where beginners get confused. There are 2 broad types of income called passive, online, and content-based income. Content-based income. This is where you create content and it keeps working over time. So let me give you some examples of that. YouTube videos that get views month after month. It's called evergreen. Blog posts that rank on Google. Pinterest pins that keep circulating. Even TikTok videos that continue to get pushed. And this is real, but it takes time. And the reason it works is because content can be discovered later on. Like I said, evergreen. You do the work once and it can pay you more than once. And that's leveraged. But it's not instant. System-based income. This is where you build a system that turns attention into outcomes. For example, a lead magnet or free resource, a simple email list, an offer that solves a problem, an automated follow-up sequence, a clear next step. This is how businesses run without you manually messaging people all day. Again, this is real, but it requires setup. And here's the key. Most beginners get sold the idea of passive income, but they are not told they need to either create content that compounds or systems that automate. So they end up doing random actions here and there, hoping that money will appear. And that's not a strategy. That's just a gamble. And after 50, gambling with your time and energy is not the right move. So number 5, why skipping the learning stage makes income fragile. I'm going to say something that might sting a little, but it's important. When people chase passive income without learning the basics, they don't create passive income. They create fragile income. Fragile income is income that disappears the moment the algorithm changes, the platform updates, the trend dies, the ad account gets restricted, the person they copied disappears, the tactic stops working, and then they're back at 0. That's why you see people bounce from thing to thing, the next shiny object, I call it. Because they never build skills. They never build a system. They just copied a tactic. And tactics expire. Skills compound over time. And systems compound over time. So if you're over 50 and you want stability, do not chase tricks. You got to chase fundamentals. And fundamentals are not complicated. they're just not glamorous, but they work. Number 6, what beginners over 50 actually need is not more hustle. Let's talk about what people over 50 actually need, because most online businesses advice is built for 22-year-olds who can stay up till midnight editing, do 7 platforms, jump on every trend, start over constantly, and tolerate instability. That's not most midlifers. Most midlifers are thinking, I want to build this, but I also have a life. You might be working full-time, you might have family responsibilities, and you might have health considerations. And you might be caring for elderly parents, and you might just be tired. And you're not lazy, you're realistic. So here's what you actually need: a simple path, a simple offer, a simple daily routine, a system that builds stability and support so you don't feel lost. And you need someone who will say, this takes learning and setup, not someone who sells you a fantasy of passive income in 2 clicks. Because after 50, your trust matters more than hype, and your time matters more than ego. So let's build something that respects that. Number 7, the real timeline. When does it start feeling less active? Now here's the question everyone wants answered. When does it become passive? And I'm going to give you the real answer. It becomes less active when you stop guessing, you stop changing directions every week, you build a simple system, you repeat it enough to improve it, you build a small foundation that compounds over time, and for many beginners, the first phase is 30 to 90 days of learning and setup. Not because it's hard, because it's not hard, but because you're building a new skill and your brain is adapting. And then comes phase 2. That's about 90 to 180 days of consistency. This is where you build the habit. You build the content engine, you build the list, you refine your messaging, you get more efficient, not perfect, efficient. And phase 3 is where it starts feeling lighter. This is about 6 to 12 months in. This is where you have content that continues to work, you have systems that follow up, you have a clearer offer, and your confidence is higher. That's when it becomes less active. And by the way, if someone promises you passive income in 7 days, ask yourself, what system can you build in 7 days that creates stable income? Most people can't build stable anything in 7 days. Not a garden, not a skill, not a business. So don't let the internet make you feel slow, because you're not slow. You're building something real, a real online business. Number 8, what I teach instead of passive income. So what do I teach instead? I teach something much more honest. Build digital income that becomes easier over time. That's it. That's the promise. Not do nothing, not retire next month, but learn a skill set, build a system, show up consistently, let it compound. And here's why that matters so much for midlifers. Because you don't need 10 complicated income streams. You need one stable system, one clear path, one routine you can repeat, and you need it to fit your lifestyle. You don't need to build a brand in some complicated way. You can build it very simply. You need a clear message, a clear next step, and a way for people to move forward without you chasing them. So no chasing friends and family. That's why I'm so big on structure, because structure creates freedom. And over 50, freedom isn't just time. Freedom is peace of mind. Freedom is not wondering how retirement will work out. Freedom is not feeling like you're going to be a burden on your family later on. Freedom is being able to just breathe. That's the real goal. Number 9, the honest passive income checklist. No fluff. Let me give you a quick checklist that you can use anytime you hear someone selling passive income. Ask these questions. What is the skill I'm learning? If there's no skill, it's probably a gimmick. What is the system I'm building? If there's no system, it's probably a manual hustle. How does the traffic happen? If traffic is just post and pray, that's not a plan. What happens when something changes? If the whole thing collapses when the platform changes, well, it's fragile. Is there a realistic timeline? If they're selling urgency instead of results, be cautious. Is the next step clear? If the next step is confusing, that's usually on purpose. This checklist alone will save you from most scams and dead ends, because most scams rely on people being unclear. Clarity is going to protect you. Number 10, what do you do if you're watching this and thinking, okay, so what do I do? Now, I want to talk to the person who is listening to this and thinking, okay, I get it, Celine. I understand passive income doesn't start passive, but what do I actually do now? Here's what you do. You stop chasing labels and you choose a simple path. And the simplest path for most beginners is learning a foundation digital skill set. Choose a simple product or offer. Build a basic system to share it. Use content to drive traffic to it. Repeat consistently enough that it becomes easier. It's not complicated, but it is a commitment. And here's why I'm so calm when I say that, because I'm not trying to hype you into anything. I'm trying to help you build something that you can actually maintain. So if you're over 50, you don't need a complicated business. You need a stable one. Number 11, my clear next step for you. So here's the next step if you want clarity and a simple plan. In the description below, I've linked my free Freedom Formula Blueprint. It's for beginners who want to understand what the pieces are, what order they go in, and how digital income actually works without hype. Again, it's free. It's listed below in the description. There's no promises, no pressure, just a roadmap. If you're over 50 and you're serious about fixing this, the next step is the Freedom Formula Blueprint linked below in the description. And if you want to take it a step further after that, you'll also see the link to my community where you can ask questions and get support. But start with clarity. Start with the blueprint, because clarity is what protects you from scams, and it protects you from quitting too early. Number 12, finally, reality check. You're not behind, you're early. Let me end with this. If you've been thinking about passive income and feeling skeptical, that's not a bad sign. It means you're paying attention, but not letting skepticism turn into paralysis, because your future doesn't get better by default. It gets better when you take a clear step. And the truth is, if you're over 50 and you start building a real skill set now, you're not behind. You're early in the process that actually works. And it's not about becoming some internet person or influencer. It's about building income options so retirement doesn't feel like a cliff. It feels like a choice. That's what I want for you. Be sure to like and subscribe and put any comments below because I'd love to answer any questions for you. All right, if you want a clear roadmap, grab the free Freedom Formula Blueprint linked below. No hype, no fantasy, just clarity and a path that you can actually follow in simple step-by-step. And I'll see you in the next video.